It was still dark when the phone rang. On the other end of the line, his voice sounded calm, too calm for the hour. He said he had pulled over at a California highway rest stop just for a moment. He told them not to worry. He said he was almost home. This is a true story. The rest stop was a place thousands of drivers passed every night. Bright vending machines, long concrete walkways, cars humming in and out. Nothing about it looked dangerous. Nothing about it suggested that someone could simply disappear. But something was wrong. During that call, he paused several times, not like he was losing signal, but like he was listening. When asked what he was doing, he didn't give a clear answer. He mentioned people nearby, then corrected himself. He said he felt confused. He said he needed to sit down. That was the last full conversation anyone had with him. Later, surveillance cameras would show him walking near his car, not rushing, not running, just moving slowly, back and forth, as if unsure where to go. His behavior didn't match panic, but it didn't match rest either. He made more calls, short ones, fragmented. In one, he said he didn't feel safe. In another, he said he was fine. Emergency lights never appeared. No alarms were triggered. No one reported a struggle. Hours passed. When authorities finally located his vehicle, it was still at the rest stop. Doors closed, no damage. His phone was gone. His wallet was missing. There were no footprints leading away that made sense. No confirmed sightings after that night. Family members replayed the calls again and again. They noticed the small things, the strange pauses, the moments where his voice dropped, as if he didn't want someone nearby to hear him, the way he stopped answering questions directly. Search teams combed the area around the rest stop, brush, drainage areas, nearby roads. Nothing. Dogs lost the scent quickly. Cameras showed him arriving but not leaving. The place where he was last heard from stayed open. Travelers came and went. Engines started. Doors slammed. Life continued. But one question refused to leave. If he didn't leave the rest stop in his car, and he didn't leave on foot, where did he go after that final call? By morning, the story no longer felt simple. Investigators began by doing what they always do, building a timeline. Phone records were pulled, camera footage was requested. Every minute between his arrival at the California highway rest stop and the discovery of his car was placed under a microscope. And almost immediately, the timeline broke apart. His phone records showed outgoing calls that didn't match what cameras showed him doing. Some calls overlapped with moments when he appeared to be standing still. Others ended suddenly, without explanation. One call cut off mid-sentence. Another went unanswered, even though his phone had signal minutes earlier. When officers walked the rest stop during daylight, they noticed how open it was. There were no deep woods nearby, no cliffs, no obvious places to disappear. The area was lit, maintained, familiar. Witnesses came forward. A truck driver remembered seeing a man pacing, holding a phone, stopping as cars passed. Another person recalled someone sitting alone on a concrete bench, staring at the ground. No one remembered seeing him leave. Security footage raised more questions. Cameras covered entrances, exits, and parking lanes, but not everything. There were blind spots, long seconds where movement could happen unseen. Yet, even accounting for those gaps, nothing showed him walking away in a clear direction. Family members struggled with the details. They described him as responsible, organized, not someone who would abandon his car, his belongings, his plans. In the days before, he had talked about normal things, work, errands, the drive home. Nothing suggested he intended to vanish. But something changed during that stop. During one call, he asked a question that still haunts investigators. He asked if someone could come get him, but then said it wasn't necessary. He said he might be mistaken about what he was feeling. He said he just needed a moment. Search teams expanded the area. They checked nearby roads, drainage systems, construction zones. Nothing connected. No confirmed movement beyond the rest stop grounds. As night returned, the rest stop lights flickered on again. Cars pulled in. People used the bathrooms. No one noticed anything unusual. But in the silence between those hours, one fact stood out more than any other. Every piece of evidence showed him arriving at the rest stop. Some showed him moving within it. None showed him leaving. And the longer investigators stared at the timeline, the more unsettling the question became. What happened in the space where the cameras weren't looking, and why did every trace of him end there? As days turned into weeks, the search slowed, but the questions did not. The California highway rest stop remained exactly where it was, unchanged. Cars continued to pull in at night, travelers stretched their legs. Someone always stood where he had once stood, phone in hand, waiting to continue a journey. Investigators reviewed everything again, the calls, the footage, the witness statements. They looked for patterns, signs of medical emergency, confusion, fear, or distress. Nothing explained why he would leave without his car. Nothing explained why no one saw him go. His family focused on the final moments of communication. They noticed how his voice shifted. Not loud, not panicked, just uncertain, as if he was trying to understand something happening around him in real time. One unanswered call stood out. It rang until voicemail. After that, his phone was never used again. Search efforts eventually pulled back. Dogs found nothing new. No belongings surfaced. No credible sightings followed. The official records stopped updating, but the case did not close. Because there was no ending. There was no clear emergency, no confirmed crime, no final image of him walking into the dark, just a normal place on a normal road that became the last point of contact. People who stop there now don't know the story. They don't know that a man once stood in that same space, trying to decide whether to stay or leave. They don't know that every trace of him ended under those lights. And maybe that is what makes this case so disturbing. Not the idea of danger hiding in shadows, but the idea that something can happen in full view, without noise, without witnesses, without explanation. One phone call, one parked car, one place where a journey stopped, and no clear answer to what happened after the final words were spoken. Years passed, but the case never truly settled. Every so often, investigators reopened the file. New tips arrived, old theories resurfaced. Each time, the same questions returned to the same place on the map, the California highway rest stop, marked with a circle and a date. Experts examined possibilities carefully: a sudden medical episode, disorientation, a brief encounter that went unreported. None of them fit cleanly. There were no emergency calls from the area that night, no reports of accidents nearby, no record of anyone matching his description being helped, detained, or transported. The phone records were checked again. The pauses in his speech, the way he seemed to sense something without being able to explain it. People who listened to the recording said the same thing. It sounded like someone trying to stay calm while something felt wrong. His family never stopped listening. They returned to the rest stop more than once. They stood where his car had been parked. They watched the traffic flow in both directions. It looked ordinary, safe, predictable, and that made it harder to understand how everything ended there. Over time, the calls stopped coming in. Leads dried up. Official searches ended. The case remained open, but quiet. Yet the questions never disappeared. How does someone vanish from a place designed for short stops and constant movement? How does a final phone call exist without a final moment to explain it? And how does a normal night turn into a mystery with no clear beginning or end? Today,
People still stop at that rest area. They make phone calls, they say they're almost home, they walk back to their cars and drive away. One man did not. His story survives only in recordings, reports, in the memory of a voice that sounded calm but uncertain during its final moments. There was no goodbye, no explanation, just a silence that followed a routine stop on a familiar road. And that silence remains the most unsettling part of all, because somewhere between that last phone call and the passing headlights, a person vanished, leaving behind a place that still waits for an answer that never arrived.